Now, to some of you guys who work on laptops or computers that make your beats, this setup may look hard to use, but it's not that hard to use. It's actually pretty easy and it sounds better. Bolo! All right, before we get started, if you guys are looking to get any type of equipment like this, or if you're just trying to get anything for your studio, make sure you guys go ahead and click my link in the description and head over to Zounds.com. Zounds, they have a whole bunch of stuff on the site, and they have a bunch of stuff on the site that does not require a credit or background check. Meaning you can order the items, they will ship it to you, and then you can use the items while just paying it off using monthly installments. Now, it's not everything on the site, but it is a whole bunch of stuff on the site that you guys can get right now with no credit or background check. So if you need something for your studio, go ahead and click my link in the description and head over to Zounds.com and get you some gear today. Also, if you need anything to protect your gear, make sure you guys go ahead and click my other link in the description and head over to Analog Cases. Analog Cases has the best cases to protect your gear in the studio and while you're traveling. If you need a case for your microphones, your audio interfaces, your keyboards, or whatever else you need, Analog Cases has a case that will fit your gear. So if you guys need to protect your gear, make sure you guys go ahead and click my link in the description and head over to Analog Cases and get the ultimate protection for your gear. Now, before I proceed with this video, a lot of people are going to say, Bolo, why do you always talk about these hardware Dawless setups? Because number one, when I buy it, I own it. I can actually touch it, feel it. I don't have to worry about licenses and getting things authorized and stuff like that. I own this. I can physically touch it. It's here in my presence. But that's just one thing I like about it. All right, so today I'm not going to get into the whole analog debate because I know a lot of y'all are very passionate about discrediting a lot of keyboards and saying that they're not analog pieces of gear, even though a lot of times you got to run an analog signal out of the gear that goes into a preamp or goes into an audio interface directly, and that converts that signal from analog to digital, and then that digital signal has to be converted back to analog because we can only hear in analog. But we're not going to get into that. That's for a whole nother video, which I might do someday. But we're going to get into why this is not as hard as some people think. Now, I know sometimes people look at a setup like this and they say, man, that is a lot. You got keyboards, you got chords, you got an MPC, you have a lot of stuff going on here, and I just don't think I can make beats like that. Well, I'm here to tell you that it's not as hard as you think. A lot of people look at these setups and feel like you cannot create a beat because you can't see the notes. You can't make instantaneous edits. You would not be able to do automation and other things like that, which all three of those are very false. You can actually work just as fast on this setup as you can on any other setup. It is very easy to work on these machines because of all the new advancements that have came to these particular devices. We all know that the MPC comes with so many updates, and we're kind of waiting for a new update. Should be coming soon, hopefully. You know, NAMM is around the corner, but you know, we'll see about that. But with the new MPC 3 beta that they have out right now, they have made so many advancements and so many different adjustments that it is crazy. You can go in here and move notes. Automation is crazy. You can mix inside of here. You can sample inside of here, of course. You can do so many things inside of the hardware because basically they have taken all the information from all over the years of what people wanted it, and they actually put it inside of the unit. And it's not just the MPC, it's other devices as well. They've done a great job across the board. Now, some of you guys are saying, well, I'm not really somebody who knows how to play. What I tell people a lot of times is if you just learn a little bit of music theory, the basics of music theory, it will help you out when playing these type of keyboards along with an MPC or a Machine Plus or whatever you want to use. Now, a lot of people look at the disadvantages of hardware more than the advantages of the hardware. And one thing that I always try to stress is we are trying to get the best sound. And one thing that these hardware units bring is sound. My snares, my kicks, my basses, they sound like how they're supposed to sound. When I play my keyboards, my pianos, my synthesizers, they just have a sound that is much better than what I hear in the computer. Now, can you get a really good sound in the computer? Yes, you can. You can definitely get a great sound in the computer, but using hardware, automatically when you run it through, you do not have to do as much mixing and processing to get it to sound the way it needs to sound when you're producing it in the computer. I think one of the best programs that has a sound that's very similar to hardware is FL Studio. It sounds really big, like the drums come out hitting in FL Studio, and it just has kind of like that analogy sound to it, especially when you export things out. But it still doesn't sound like this. Maybe it could be by, running this out into pre's and it's hitting the pre's a certain way and then it hits your computer. I don't know what it is. I know a lot about it. I'm not a scientist with stuff like that, but I just know I can literally make a beat on here, and then once I bring it into the computer, I can just make slight EQ moves if I have to do it, if I have to do any type of EQ moves. What I'm getting out of here, and I put it into any other type of program or whatever, that's the sound that I'm getting. I don't have to do too much to it. And the cool thing about it is I can actually sample a lot of this stuff back into my MPC, and then I can just use that as my complete everything. I can mix it inside of here. I can sequence everything inside of here. The automation, everything is crazy inside of these newer units. And I can do everything without even having to hit the computer anymore. I could say really about half of my beats right now do not even hit the computer. I do everything with this setup right here, and basically the MPC is the main brain of the operations, to where I can route everything back into it, I can sequence everything, and then I can just bounce it down and export it inside of the MPC. However, if I want to get a bigger sound, a lot of times I will run it into my Manley preamp, and I'll try to get that sound from that as well. It just gives like a certain type of color to it that I really like. And then of course, running that Manley into like an audio interface, it gives you more color because you can hit the preamps a little bit more, and it can just give you something that just sounds really big. It's hard to explain, but it just gives you that really big sound. And then a lot of times when I go to certain studios and I play my beats, the main thing people always ask is, yo, what did you make that in? And I'm like, I use hardware. And this is not something that's not hidden. Like, this is something a lot of people know, but I know a lot of times it's not convenient to be taking around keyboards and MPCs and stuff like that. But, that's why they made like the MPC Live 2 and they made the MPC Key 37. Like, it just makes your life so much easier. I take a lot of my sounds inside of these keyboards. I sample those things right back into the MPC. I might make one shots, or I'll make key groups, and I take my favorite sounds, put them on my MPC Key 37, and I can go to any studio with sounds in here, and I can cook up the exact same way, and I still get that analog sound. And then one thing a lot of people ask me is, well, it can kind of get expensive, like when you get this type of stuff. And I say, yes, it can be a little expensive, but I have shown on my channel different setups to where it's some setups that are less than $1,500. And then a lot of this stuff you can get used for very cheap. Like right now, you can get an MPC one for like $400 or $500 in some places. And then you can get you a nice little keyboard for about another $400 to $600 that has multiple MIDI outs on it. And then right there, you have a whole hardware setup for sometimes less than $1,000. And everything works the exact same way because, in the MPC family, all the new MPCs, they all work together and they all do the same thing. It's just some come with more features than others. And over the time, I've seen a lot of people go Dawless like that because they're starting to understand the benefits of a Dawless setup, even though, yes, sometimes certain things may take a little longer, but that's usually if you do not really know how to use it. Now, I know there is limitations when using a Dawless setup. I get it. But a lot of times those limitations lead you into doing things that you never thought you could do. Like, I actually love being limited in a sense because now I just don't reach for every single plugin or every single EQ or every single type of effect. The limitations kind of bring the best out of you because now you have to be more creative in your process, even though that they do have a ton of effects and everything, especially inside the MPC. Like, the effects in here are crazy. They have everything pretty much in here now. But it has me to focus on the production aspect of it and trying to make each sound in each individual track have a unique sound before I even add anything to it. And then if I want to take it further and bounce things down and mangle it up and add certain effects to it, I can do that as well inside of these newer units. They're crazy. Now, what I will say to a lot of the people who are starting out, I would not go as crazy as maybe this setup that I have right here, but just a simple keyboard and a simple MPC-1 will do you just fine. And I have a link right here at the top that'll show you some different setups that I do have here. And I actually have a playlist that shows you guys how to connect these devices as well. But yeah, don't be scared of this. This is not something that is that hard to use. Once you get a hang of it, once you understand how everything works, it is actually very simple. And then you will come out with some really good sounding beats. I'm telling you, there was so many people that were actually a little scared about the whole Dawless thing. And now the more and more that they used it, they're like, yo, I didn't know it would be like this. I produce more on my Dawless setup than I do inside of the computer just by how it sounds. And it just has a totally different feel. Now, I'm not trying to hate and say, oh, you shouldn't work on any type of setups that's inside of your laptops or your computers. No, I feel like you can have a healthy relationship by making beats in a Dawless setup and making beats on your DAW. I think that you can have that, or you can have like a hybrid setup that a lot of people do where they might use the MPC in controller mode, or you can use it like in a hybrid setup where a lot of people use hardware inside of their DAWs as well as using the VSTs and samplers and whatever that they use inside of their DAWs. But I will say, using this type of gear will give you a bigger and better sound out the gate. You don't really have to work for it as much. But using these synthesizers along with something like an MPC or any other type of drum machine, it will give you a more detailed sound, especially in the drums. Basses are going to hit harder, snares are going to crack a little bit harder, and the synthesizers, to me, they just come out immaculate, especially using it with something like the MPC. Now, I'm not trying to sell y'all on nothing. I'm just speaking my mind right here. You ain't got to go buy nothing or nothing like that. I'm just saying over the years, for me making beats on a DAW, which I made a ton of beats on a DAW, and me making beats on a Dawless setup, it's not that hard. Just coming out of it, it automatically sounds better a lot of times. But that's just my opinion out of 8 billion people in this world. Now, if you guys have a Dawless setup already, let me know what your setup is in the comment section. And if you guys are interested in the Dawless setup and you have questions, go ahead and ask me questions in the comment section. If I see it, I will answer it. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys learned something from it. And like I always say, peace out.